the sun is just starting to climb up over the treetops. And it's gonna be a beautiful day, that's plain to see.
Welcome to Bill Dance Outdoors, America's most popular and longest running TV fishing show.
Now I've gone fishing with Bill Dance today.
Hello everybody. You know, other than a bobber, hook, line, and sinker, could there be more basic forms of fishing? Every angler throws a crankbait at one time or the other, and it seems so simple, chunk and wind. But don't let the simplicity deceive you. There's a whole lot more to fishing crankbaits than that. Well, there is if you ever hope to get all out of them that they have to offer. And crankbaits offer a whole bunch of bass. Anglers that have figured all the applications of crankbaits have keys to success that others don't. And in the next little bit, I'm going to show you some of those keys that will really crank up crankbaits. Like any bait or lure, crankbaits have a time and place. Now, before fishing one, you should consider the conditions and what's called for on a specific day. You do this through a questioning process. What color works best? Should I cast large or small? What about floating, suspending, or sinking models? Just through these simple questions, you'll see there's a whole lot more to successful cranking than the old chunk and wind. But trust me, it goes way deeper than that. Added examples include, should I use realistic looking baits? Should I use a bait that has a tight wiggle or a wobble? Heavy or light-weighted lines? What about retrieve speeds? What about diving models or shallow runners? Oh yeah, rattling or silent baits? And what about presentation? There's no doubt about it, answering these questions is tough and maybe confusing, but when you learn the particular characteristics of the lure, you'll also learn when such traits best apply to various conditions. Got him. He got a little crawfish in his mouth. Yes. Nice fish. Easy, buddy. Easy. Little crawfish. Pretty fish. Real dark colored. I got him right there. Where are you going, buddy? Come here. There he's smoking it. Going on down, going on down, going on down. Where are you going? Come on back here. Nice one. Come here. Woo! You got that little crawfish all hung up in your face. Pretty little fat fish. You been eating crawfish? There's a lot of them in that flat, I can tell you that. All crankbaits share nearly a dozen characteristics that must be considered in the selection process. Among these are profile, sound, color, shape, buoyancy, speed, look, action, and depth. Let me tell you, crankbaits work best anytime the water temperature is above 50 degrees, but you can catch them in much colder water by downsizing the bait. Your action and speed can also be a major factor. Now, I've caught bass on shallow running crankbaits in 2 feet of water in 39 to 40 degree temperatures.
Bill Dance Outdoors is sponsored in part by Bass Pro Shops. Your adventure starts here. Rebel, catch fish anywhere. and by Mercury Marine. Go boldly. Today's Conditions Log is brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development. Come experience the kind of beauty that can only be made in Tennessee. Go online today for your free Tennessee vacation guide.
That one on way out there. Come on, baby. Whoa, look here. Come here, babe. Nice fish, too. Come here, boy. Oh, that's good. There you go. Look at that big, fat, chunky baby. That big, fat. That big, fat, chunky baby. All right, boy. Something you never want to do. You never want to choose a crankbait just because it's your favorite model or because it's your favorite color. Choose it because it's the best lure for the job. Choose it because it gives you the best chance to catch fish. You have to see it as selecting a tool for the job, or maybe even a golf club for the game. What's going to work best and why? You know, it's a big mistake to just chunk and wind a crankbait and not capitalize on the many benefits of these baits. Your success going the chunk and wind route is going to hinge largely on the fish's behavior on a particular day. Well, you and I know fish aren't always aggressive. Most often, they're very selective, and we have to give them what they want. So, for this show, I decided to use Rebel's D76 2 3/8 inch wee crawfish in their nest robber color. Oh, you big. I'll get off. Go on again, look at it. Hey, crawfish eating baby right there. That's why he's so fat. Again, the reason for crankbaits, we have lots of options. We can make the bait work for us by creating erratic actions, stop and go, that little glide motion I was telling you about, or even fine-tuning the make and model. You know, crankbaits require the same awareness and concentration as used while fishing jigs and plastic, or even plastic worms or spinnerbaits as far as that goes. But presentation, it's so important. It's also important that you be totally focused from the time the lure leaves your rod tip until it gets back to the tip. This will not only allow you to detect more strikes, but it'll also help you decipher any needed adjustments. I'm running it down, then I'm just kind of stopping it and I'm pulling it a little bit like that. And what a crawfish does, he'll run down and he'll glide like that. If I stop it, it'll kind of float up because this is a floater. So I'm throwing it out. I'm running it down, and I'll just kind of stop it, and I'm keeping tension on it, and I'm just kind of pulling it like that, and it looks like it's kind of gliding, and that's what a crawfish will do. He'll run like that, and he'll glide. Then I'll start it up again, and I'll do it again, but I'm keeping tension on that line.
Today's show is sponsored in part by Quantum Rods and Reels, Mystic Lubricants, Lubrication Domination, and Tracker Boats, fish the finest. Today's equipment log is brought to you in part by Gamakatsu, because the fish of a lifetime only comes once in a lifetime. Today's show is sponsored in part by Stren, the standard of dependability since 1958. Fish defunk, kill the stink. And Garmin, fight your fish, not your fish finder.
Coming right at the boat. Whoa, look at that fish right there. Whoa! Woo-wee! Boy, I don't like what you're doing. Easy now, easy. Got that big nest robber right in your face. Boy, you know, here's something we've mentioned before, but it's worth mentioning again. You know, when you present your lure, you want to present it at a variety of angles. Most fishermen just work down the bank or a ledge without working multiple casts from different angles. They never change the angle of their retrieve. So it's very important to do that. You got to consider that the strike zone can be so limited on certain days, and if the bait doesn't come along at the right angle, fish are just not going to hit it. You can make repeated casts at the same spot, but it will not get bit. But then you can slightly change the direction of your lure and it'll produce many fish for you. Yep, and I've seen this happen a bunch of times. Again, lure selection is critical. Don't choose it because it looks good. Choose a crankbait because it gives you the presentation. Also, toss a bait a few times before switching to another. If the lure is worth tying on, it's worth a fair shot. Give it a fair chance. Now, you have to know there's no one miracle crankbait out there that's going to clobber the bass every time you cast it. But you can book it and take it to the bank every day. Well, except holidays, that every day there's a certain combination of crankbait qualities that'll outperform all others that particular day. All you have to do is find it. Let me tell you, action is the mother of all lures, and how fish perceive your presentation is one of those keys that I mentioned earlier. It goes back to questions. Do you need it to wobble wide, or do you need fast, tight wiggles? The answers to such questions come from time on the water and how the fish respond. For example, many shad baits tend to have tight wiggles, and knowledge such as this can allow you to make a selection. Of course, various models of crankbaits allow anglers to achieve various depths, but you got to remember that you always want a bait to run just above the fish in order to get bit. Now, people that have fish below the fish get fewer strikes, if any. Likewise, you want a crankbait to run just above the top of the cover. You know, I like it when it occasionally bumps the cover or reflects off of it. Now, like today, I'm just skimming the top of this vegetation. I don't want it to plow down in it because I'm grabbing all of it on the lip of the bait. And these crawfish are just laying right up on top of it. You also want your crankbait to stay in the strike zone for longer periods of time. You target a specific depth and try to keep your crankbait there. Typically, you want your bait to go to its maximum depth, so don't burn them. Slow to medium retrieves are what's needed to achieve the ideal depth. Reels with lower gear ratios will help you maintain this when fishing deep diving crankbaits. You know, as far as size, I've never believed in the old theory, match the hatch. You know, if there's 1,000 3-inch shad out there, why would I want to throw another 3-inch lure into the mix? I prefer to throw something that's going to stand out bigger or smaller. Whatever I can do to throw something, give them something that's different. No, it's not always bigger is better. I just think one of the biggest mistakes is not throwing a lure that's large enough. Shape, profile, and body thickness creates a better image in the water. It dispels water, and this can be critical when visibility is reduced. Predators use their lateral line to detect the pressure waves, and the delicate action of a larger crankbait can make it easier to locate.
The Bill Dance Question and Answer of the Week is brought to you by Mystic Lubricants and their complete line of JT4 marine products. A full line of products for your full line of pursuits. Visit mysticlube.com today.
Why do bass plugs often have the solitary black dot on the body of the bait? Well, lure manufacturers put spots on baits, especially crankbaits, as a target area. They want the bass to see it as an eye. And in the bass's attempt to strike a prey's head where the eye is located. The bass are also duped into grabbing a mouthful of treble hooks.
Today's show is sponsored in part by Millennium Marine, a new class of comfort. And Motor Guide, trolling motors engineered for anglers. Closed captioning is provided by Bill Dance Digital. Follow us. Today's product tip is brought to you by Garmin and their GPS map series, chart plotter sonar combos. With advanced sonar technology like Chirp and exclusive Panoptix all-seeing sonar, you'll spend less time finding your fish.
Smoke rods received a major redesign with the new S3 series. Actions are faster and more on trend with today's techniques. Quantum's high-strain graphite construction yields an incredible lightweight blank with maximum sensitivity. There's 15 actions all the way up to the 7-foot 10-inch model for everything from finesse shaky heads to flipping in the heaviest cover.
Come be a part of Bill Dance Digital. Join us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Follow us.
Tell you what let's do. Let's talk about the shape of a crankbait for a second. You know, the shape of a crankbait affects the movement of water. Now, a fat-sided bait moves more water, but a flat-sided crankbait can be retrieved slower and a whole lot easier. Like this little bait right here, it's got flat sides, so it's a lot easier to retrieve than a fat little crankbait. And I can also get a bait like this, a flat-sided bait down. I can get it deeper, quicker, like here or in a current, than I can a fat-sided bait. As far as crankbait colors, remember the general rule is bluebird clear days calls for natural patterns. In low visibility water, use crankbaits with dark bait finishes. As they say, in fishing dark waters, use dark baits. I hear this a lot. Do you think flashy crankbaits, the chrome colored baits, you think they do good? Well, flash can be good when vision is poor, but on bright, clear days like we got today, I think flashy baits do more harm than good when it comes to attracting bass. Okay, what about sound? Well, any crankbait is going to create some vibration as it moves through the water. It displaces water molecules. That enough can attract bass. But baits with sound chambers will create sound. with even the slightest twitch. I like to use rattling crankbaits in stain water, but that's just something else that you'll have to experiment with. You got to experiment with different things and find out what works at that particular time in that particular situation. And finally, there are the baits that sink, float, and suspend. Naturally, the buoyancy of the bait is going to influence its running depth. Suspended baits are certainly good when it's cold and when bass are super inactive, because you can keep them in the zone, work it slow, and stop it, then start it up, and bounce them off cover. And then there are times when the diving floater crankbaits works exceptionally well. Bass sometimes prefer that. All these choices are something you have to experiment with.
Look at that big horseman up there. Woo! I'm on that boat. You big. Look at him bulldoze it. Golly Moses. Woo, look at that. Just fell out. Woo. Woo. Nice. Boy, 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 boy. You don't think he's been eating? Woo. Toodaloo. Whoa, wee. Whoa, what a pretty fish. What a pretty day. What a pretty bait. Whoa. As I said earlier, crankbaits are one of the ultimate multitasking tools when it comes to bass fishing. Tell you what you need to do. You need to take advantage of the many options, and you can fine-tune your game plan to pick the bait that works best for you on any given day. See you next time, and until then, crank one up for me.
Thanks for watching Bill Dance Outdoors. Join us here again next week.
Now I've gone fishing with Bill Dance today.